Hi, welcome to another 213 in 2013. This is Shannon Tidwell, Garden Girl at Two Peas in a Bucket. 213 in 2013 is a weekly video series that releases each Monday. And with each video, we will have 4 to 5 creative prompts that go along with our layouts. So by the end of 2013, you'll have a list of 213 creative prompts to get you scrapbooking. This week, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into my first prompt, and that's to scrapbook a boy layout. I've noticed that I've been reaching for those pink supplies a little too often lately. And while there's nothing wrong with pink frilly lace and sequins and all things girly, by just taking a step back and changing my subject matter for this layout, I was able to kind of step out of a rut and reach for some different products and some different colors. And when I mean different colors, I mean primary. To me, there's nothing better than a nice, bright, cheerful red. Although it is sometimes a hard color to find, I've gathered up some great Elle Studio day-to-day products that I'm going to be featuring on this layout. I decided to start with this nice chevron craft background paper, and that way I can add as many bright colors as I want on top, and it's a nice balance between the bright colors. And I've gathered up a few photos, and to start out with, I just kind of laid them out on the background and moved them around until I could kind of feel like something was working. So you can see that it just kind of happened that it worked into a grid. And that moves us into our next prompt of creating a photo grid. This is a great way to get a lot of photos on a page in a simple way. And you can see that I really didn't even do much trimming. I'm just going to kind of overlay the photos on top of each other, and I'm using that 4x6 at the top as my guide to help size the bottom. Now that I've got my photos figured out and I've got the placement kind of figured out in my head, it's time to start thinking about what's going to go on behind the photos. Lately, I've enjoyed creating big, bold backgrounds. And then that way, when it comes time to embellish the page, I don't have to use as many products or spend as much time doing it because I've already got something really neat going on in the background. And one of the easiest ways to figure out a design for a page is to let the product lead you. So that's exactly what I did for this background. I'm going to use the background pattern as my guide to create a colorful and interesting background to my page. I had another sheet of this same pattern paper that I'd already used a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut into it and cut one of these chevron stripes out to use as a template. So once I got my template cut out and started laying it on the page, my mind immediately started moving with all the different patterns that I could fill those chevron stripes with. I knew that I wanted to mix in some neutral pattern papers as well as some bright pattern papers to kind of keep it from being too overwhelming. Those neutrals would help tone it down. So here what I did is I just put my template upside down on the back of the pattern paper that I wanted to cut, and I just tacked it down with some magnets, and then I'm going to use my craft knife to cut it out. As soon as I got that first one cut out, I had to try it out on the background paper and see how it was going to look and make sure that this was going to work. So it was really exciting whenever I put it on there, and it looked really cute, and now I was off to find some more pattern papers that would fill my chevron stripes. As I was cutting them, I kind of played around a little bit, wasn't still sure on the design. I didn't know if I would nest them together or fill the spaces kind of like I had originally planned. But I thought, well, I'll just keep cutting and kind of see how it comes together. So once I had them cut, I really felt like this is how I liked it, with them filling in the spots. You can see here that I'm using the one that I cut as a template actually as one of my fillers. But since it's turned over and kind of used on the opposite side that the template was, it's off just a little bit, but that's okay because my photo is going to cover part of it, and I'm just going to slice it right there, and that way I can even it up on both sides. Of course, I could cut another one, but I just felt like this was easier, and that way I didn't have to spend the time to cut another one. So now I'm going to go ahead and start adhering these down. You can see that I've alternated the more neutral patterns with the bolder patterns, and that way it keeps the eye flowing down the page and your eye doesn't go directly to one spot if I'd had the bright colors all together. And the red at the bottom is quite a bit bolder, but that's okay because I knew that my title was probably going to go down there and kind of cover up part of it, so it'll end up being toned down just a tad. And here I am cheating a little bit with that last chevron like I told you. I'm just going to adhere the left side even with the left edge. And you can see how the chevron's off a little bit. Like I said, this is the back side of my template, so it's like opposite. But I'm just going to slice it right where my photos are going to cover it up. And then I'll move that right side into the chevron background, and so it'll fit perfectly. See, now those photos cover it right up. You can't even tell. So I'm thinking I'm good with the placement. I'm liking how this is working, and I'm going to make the commitment to go ahead and adhere these photos down. I was really inspired by that Elle Studio tag that you see laying there. I really liked the negative look of the letters, but I knew that that tag wouldn't work because that the patterns would just be too overwhelming with the patterns I have going on in the background. So I turned to my trusty silhouette and a neutral pattern paper, of course, and just used a basic font to cut out this title block. You can immediately see that if I lay this title block down directly on the background pattern paper, it really doesn't have much oomph. And that's why we're going to go pop dot crazy. Love pop dots. I love how they add that extra bit of dimension in such an easy and lightweight way. So I am covering the back of this title block with pop dots. And you can see how every now and then I turn it back over, kind of pat on it to see where I'm missing pop dots to make sure that it doesn't get squished in any spots. I'm including this little snippet just to show you that goof ups are made, but things can be easily changed. Here I decided that if with my title block was a little too close to the right side. So I'm just carefully lifting up those photos and going to move them over just about an inch, 3/4 of an inch to the left. And now my title block fits in there just perfectly without overlapping off the edge. I'm feeling pretty brave and confident in my design so far, so I've gone ahead and peeled off the pop dots, and I'm sticking the title down onto the page. As I was thumbing through my stickers, these from Simple Stories, this part of the Snap collection, I loved these little banner stickers, how they looked all together, and so I'm just going to pretty much put them on the page just like they are on the sticker sheet. I am going to trim them down so they're different lengths and maybe do some a little to the side just to give it a little bit more interest. But I just love how they all look together, so I'm going to go ahead and use them all. I forgot to mention earlier that I did machine stitch around the perimeter of the layout just to kind of hold it all in, frame everything together. And now I've added some stitching across the top of our little tags there, and I'm going to add an embellishment on top of that. So now that I've got my title work over there kind of figured out, I feel like I've got this blank spot here in the middle of my photo grid. And I found this really cute striped ampersand more from the Snap Simple Stories. And what I like to do with my stickers, again, I'm putting pop dots on the back side of it. That way I can kind of play around with it a little bit, play around with the placement till I figure out exactly where I want it. And that way it pops off the page as well. It doesn't get stuck to the background. So I'm going to let it float here in the middle of these photos, and then I've grabbed these little banner stickers, again from the Snap Simple Stories. I like these craft little banners. I've layered a skinny one and a fat one together for each side, and I'm going to just use it for a little labeling for my photos. So I'm just kind of sticking them in there underneath the ampersand so it kind of just looks like they're flowing out from each side. And then I decided to do a little mixture of the letter stickers with my handwriting for these labels for the photos. I felt like too many letter stickers would be a little overwhelming, and I didn't want it just to all be my handwriting, so I make sure it was. And now it's time to move on to the journaling. I thought this little card by Elle Studio would work perfectly. I like the lines on it, like the color. Everything is perfect except for the part at the top where it says our routine. That doesn't go with the rest of my layout. So I'm just going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to cut another little tag from more Elle Studio and adhere it right on top of that our routine. Sure, I probably could have dug around and found another card that would have worked perfectly without having to change anything. But at that moment, I felt like it was just easier to change it up. I had all those supplies right in front of me, didn't need to dig for anything. So you can see I adhered it on. And then I'm going to add just a little staple from the tiny attacher to kind of Give it a little texture and just make it look like it belonged there. And it does. That splash of green is a perfect touch, and now I'm ready to add my journaling to it. For those curious about this layout, it's about how the most important thing at this age is just to have fun and love the game of baseball. So here I am at that spot in the layout where you're just almost done there, just a few little extra things to add in, and then maybe it'll feel finished. But for now, I found this cute little tag that says important. I think it's from Elle's Studio. I'll have to look to make sure. But I wanted to add in the word baseball on it, and then I'm going to put a heart on it. So I've got these cute little letter stickers, again from Simple Stories, part of the Snap collection. I like this nice clean font. A little trick when you're putting letter stickers down so you can move them around a little bit, just lightly stick down like the bottom of them, and so the top kind of still floats up off the paper. And that way you can move them around a bit, and then once you've got your placement for sure, you can go ahead and smash them down so they're going to be there for good. The original heart sticker, the circle heart sticker that I had picked out, ended up being a little big for my spot. So I found another small pink heart sticker and put a pop dot underneath it, of course, and I'm just going to stick it right there in the middle of the word baseball. Sometimes what I write in my journaling kind of inspires more little tidbits that I'm going to add to the page. So that's exactly what happened here. Now as I sit back and look at the page, up there at the top right kind of feels a little sparse to me. So I found just a really skinny arrow that I'm going to attach to the top up there. I didn't want anything too bold or too bright up there. I tried some different arrows from Snap that were striped, but that was just too much, too many colors. But I like just this, adding a little bit of the turquoise up there at the top. And then I've got a 2012 sticker from KI Memories Flashback. And again, I'm putting a pop dot under it so it kind of pops off the page a little bit. Goes with the rest of the stickers that I've got on my page. And now I think it's complete. Once again, creating a layout and video for you guys has really pushed me to create a layout that I'm proud of. I hope that these 5 prompts will help you do the same. Again, the prompts this week were to do a boy layout, to use a background pattern as your guide, to use primary colors, to create a photo grid, and go a little pop dot crazy. As usual, there is a challenge that goes along with our 2013 and 2013 video series. I hope that you'll join in on the challenge to use at least one of these prompts on your next layout and upload it to the gallery. Make sure that you check the 2013 and 2013 challenge box. Thanks again for hanging out with me. This is Shannon Tidwell, Garden Girl at 2 Peas in a Bucket.